Super chat.
Only you can prevent obesity. These were drier than a mummy's dick. Not that I would know. What's up, everyone? Welcome back to another edition of Between the Buns, the hardest hitting, fastest growing, because there's no other competition, fastest growing podcast in the competitive eating segment. We won the award, so congratulations here. We're joined by Darren Eats, former number 3 eater in Major League Eating in the world. Two-time Nathan's Famous second place runner up and general all-around rad dude with attitude. I am Heavy D, another competitive eater, and we're here for some Between the Buns hard-hitting action. Let's jump right in. Darren's going to lead us off with Challenge of the Week.
Yes, I would like to go ahead and mention the Challenge of the Week for this week. And from your Challenge of the Week last week, you were talking about the one place, the dive bar down in Arizona, where they offer the pizza rolls and all the different challenges. So I have the East Coast version of that for this week's challenge. And it's at none other than P-Dubs right outside of Pittsburgh, and I believe in a small town called Monaca, Pennsylvania. But yeah, with that restaurant, it's a little typical dive bar. They have some arcade games, pinball machine, maybe 2 pool tables set up. They got a bar and grill, all that jazz. And the interesting thing about this place is that they offer, I want to say, 4 different challenges. One being a spicy challenge, and I'll go over the other 3 since I've done all 3 of them with Dane. But yeah, I'm trying to remember which one I did first. The first challenge I did was their Hindenburg burger, and it's actually not called the Hindenburg challenge, but I think I called it that for the video, so it's now officially the Hindenburg challenge just because I said so. But
I mean, you said the record, right? I said you set the record. You get to name it, right? Like, that's how it works.
Yeah, we'll go with that, sure. I'm sure someone else has broken the record, but for the purpose of this podcast, we'll just say I beat it, and I got to rename it. But anyways, with the Hindenburg, nothing super crazy. I want to say it's maybe like a 2-pound burger along with a normal portion of fries, which is actually kind of surprising because most challenges, it's a normal size burger, and then you load you up with the fries, just like Eagle's Deli. Well, not that they're burgers, normal size, but their meat to fry ratio is a little off. It should always be more burger than fries.
12-patty burger is necessarily a normal size burger.
But I think the ratio, is off because there's more fries than there's the hamburger 100%. Itself.
Yeah.
But with a Hindenburger, it was a good burger, but nothing really particularly stands out too much with that challenge. I think it has a shorter time limit, maybe like 10 minutes, something like that. I don't remember off the top of my head. But that was one of the
20-minute time limit and a 2.5-pound burger.
Oh, do you have the stats pulled up when you're in?
I do, and it's
3 minutes.
$28 if you fail.
How much is it?
$28 if you fail.
Oh, wow. So it seems like COVID inflation hasn't really affected the menu prices there for the challenge, at least. Because I think
Pennsylvania's doing good, man. Pennsylvania's doing good.
They are. I mean, it seems like a lot of those PA challenges are still going strong. So
they have a mean pasta challenge.
Yes, that one.
Pasta, 10 breadsticks, 12 minutes for $17. That's a deal.
But I'm sure the profit margin is large on that because it's just pasta, and from what I can recall, it was just like a knockoff version of beefaroni. They had some rotini in there. I don't even recall there being a lot of meat in it. They might have just probably used like tomato sauce or something. They probably didn't even really use pasta sauce or anything like that. I don't remember there being any meat in it, so I guess it's not even a beefaroni, really. It's just a roni, but But I remember the breadsticks being actually pretty good. And like you said, there are 10 of them. And I think that was actually the challenging part of that challenge, not the spaghetti itself. That went down super easy. I think Dan and I both knocked that out in like a minute or something like that.
No shit.
The breadsticks took a while. That probably took like a good 5 minutes or so, if I could recall. I don't remember off the top of my head. But that was an interesting challenge, though, because, once again, that one, it seemed like the ratio was off again. Like, there was more side dish than there was like entree. But then the The other challenge was very disappointing. I remember it was their
Big 76er, 76 ounce sirloin steak, which explains why it'd be a little bit chewier. For those of you at home, sirloin tends to have a little bit more connective tissue, therefore making it chewier. It's the same cut they use in the Big Texan, right? Yeah, sirloin, right?
I don't think it's a sirloin. I don't think, from my personal experience, because I remember now, I didn't do that challenge with Dan. I did that one with Josh Handsome and Darian Thomas and Jolo Bianco. And
the steak one?
Yeah, the steak one. I think that was just like a straight up chuck roast or like a London that was not a sirloin. I think that was like a straight up chuck roast. And then I remember I had asked for the steak, because I like my steaks rare. And it came out well done. It was chewy. It was awful. And they did that steak disservice. First off, they did the disservice by frying it up on the griddle. They should have it's a roast. It's what you're supposed to roast with potatoes or whatever. But
that's always one of my biggest questions is if we order it rare and the grill is only a finite size, right? We use the screen here. So there's only so many steaks that can fit here. How are you overcooking this shit, right? I would expect it to more come out raw, which would be fine because we like I said, I work in food. If it's raw, we can cook it more, but once it's gone, it's gone forever, right? You're not reversing it back to medium rare. Pull it off the grill, just slice a little bit in there and be like, okay, we're good. You know what I mean?
Yeah, absolutely. But one thing that Pete does where they lack in their food quality for some of their challenges, they do make up for it with their service. I do remember their service was great. They didn't try to pull a fast one on us or anything like that. We called in ahead of time and they expected us. They're super friendly, courteous, and they're, enjoying it themselves. The whole wait staff got into it. So I do commend them for that. Service was great. And I remember for one of the challenges, you're supposed to get a t-shirt that, said P-Dubs or whatever on it. But they said, sorry, we're out of shirts in your size. What else could we give you? And I was looking around and they had these P-Dub growlers, the half-gallon beer bottles. They had those laying around. I was like, oh, that thing's kind of cool. Can I have that? And they're like, yeah, sure. And every time, if you ever come into town, we can fill it up for you. I was like, oh, cool. Yeah, that's awesome. That's a pretty awesome gift. So that I've definitely gotten from a challenge. Unfortunately, I haven't been up there since, but.
Yeah. How many chugs did you fire out of that growler?
Unfortunately, I don't think I've done a single chug out of it. I should have. That's a missed opportunity, unfortunately. But I can definitely say that's one of the quirkier gifts I've definitely gotten from a challenge for sure. Well,
that's a solid gift. I think Brett would take that gift 100 times compared to a t-shirt. A beard growler. Those things are expensive. They do have.
I don't know if you would have been. Because they weren't a microbrewery or anything. They had the brews that we your Miller Lights and their Bud Lights and all that. So
yeah, I'm not against it. I saw Blaine sent me a meme today, and it was me listening to the waiter, knowing I'm just gonna order a Miller Lite, and he's like, "This is the most you thing I've ever seen." It's just this dog bouncing its head But P-Dubs does have one more challenge. It's got a ghost wing challenge. 6 ghost wings in 6 minutes. If you fail this challenge, the price tag is $25 though.
Ooh. I know wings are expensive, but still.
The burger's almost cheaper than the wing.
They had to adjust for inflation.
Dude, the burger is almost cheaper than the wing. The steak was, if you failed the steak, it was $60. So that kind of seems
okay. That definitely has been affected by COVID inflation. I don't remember it being that much for a fail. But
really?
I remember it being $30-some bucks or something, rightfully so, because it's a chuck roast and not a sirloin. But
maybe that's why they've upped their food quality. They took your feedback. It's you changed their challenge. You're like, get this chuck roast out of here. It's nothing to boast about. And they're like, we're going to the sirloin now.
Yeah, man.
Did you do the spicy wing one?
Nah, I usually don't do the spicy challenges. I'll do some spicy quantity stuff like the trying to remember the place in Connecticut, the Bearwitch challenge. That one does have a ghost pepper sauce on. I didn't think it was that bad, but Well, there was a cash prize associated with that one. So if there was a cash prize associated with it, maybe. But
no, I mean that makes it all different. And I know I was texting you and Brett earlier this week. So Super Hot did drop, and that was crazy to me to go down your spice thing because I'm not a big spice thing either. My coworkers, oh, do you eat spice? Do you do this? And I'm like, no, I don't want to fuck with the one chip challenge unless, like you said, unless there's cash to be had. I'm good without spicy food. So this Super Hot documentary was crazy to me because they just line up like what they showed was like 10 people at a table, multiple rounds, and you're just eating these super hot peppers and they increase as you go up. And you go until you tap out or you throw up. And I was just thinking of it in like competitive eating. Could you just imagine you just ate until you reverse? Instead of holding it in, you're just like, oh, he's out, he's done.
Well, I know some of the Japanese contests are basically like that because
really,
you don't eat till you puke, but like because the time limits are so long over there, it's like 1 hour contest is but 10-minute contest. So by the end of it, are you getting pretty darn close to reversing?
I could not imagine, like, we'll just use bagels or even Nathan's. Like, I could not imagine doing that for an hour, right? Like, the strategy just to do a 10-minute contest, let alone an hour of like, I'm going to push it here, I'm going to back off here.
It's
and then
hard.
You get tired, right? Like, because there's been times that like I've done challenges that was like 2 hours for a pizza. And it was a team pizza challenge. Everyone took a break. Half the team never came back after the break, right? They were done eating because their body was like, yeah, we're good. You ate enough. Like, we're full. We're good.
Yeah, that's the hardest thing about eating. It's those first few minutes, and then like how far can you extend that,
I mean, but for you, being on national Japanese TV as like you're not Japanese, so they're rooting for you to fail. And then you got to eat for an hour. And even if it was multiple foods, like I think you were saying, like you're going from round to round to round, that's tough as shit, man.
Yeah, it was tough. It was definitely a wake-up call for me. And honestly, I'm very lucky that I made it all the way to the finals with that event. And honestly, we could do a whole nother episode about that because that was
just like Jeff Esper wants a 109-pound burger. I think your time, and I would love to hear about, because I'm always fascinated. Like I watched. This is what we'll end with for this segment before the ADD gets the best of us. I can't speak. I speak 3 words of Japanese. I watched a whole entire show in Japanese with no English subtitles of you competing and was just fascinated. Like I was at the gym watching it doing cardio and people were like watching me like, what the fuck is watching?
You watched it?
Oh yeah, man. It was like crazy to watch to me how other countries treat competitive eating and how it was like made for broadcast, but then the edits where they're like unveiling it like a new car on The Price is Right, and then they flash to the competitors and everyone's like, oh, like shit.
I know. Like, and honest, that was not staged when they did that, because the crazy thing was while we were competing, they didn't, it was almost like Taken, like when, they get to grab the girl from the, the human trafficker, Liam Neeson's daughter, and just drag her in the car, and she's like, oh my god, where am I going? Like it was basically like that. They picked us up from the hotel, like, all right, we're gonna take you to this undisclosed location, and you're gonna eat a lot of food. It's like,
that's badass. See, that's like this. Well, I'll end with. I had an idea one time. I just don't have the money, or I'm not good at construction. We may need your dad since he's the plumber. But I was like, could you imagine like having a game show almost? And as you eat, the person who's winning goes up and the other people go down, and then like have like a pit of cactus or like a water or something like that. That as you lose, you get like just doused. Like, oh, he's out. He touched. And you're like trying to eat while you're like avoiding hitting this thing. Like that's where my brain goes.
That's what we should do. That would be like, it kind of reminds me of that show. Do you remember on Spike TV, that Japanese show MXC?
Yes.
Combine that with eating.
Dude, that's where my head goes. So before we jump in to today's topic, this or that, real fast. McDonald's or Burger King? This or
Burger
that?
King.
Burger King. Pizza Hut, Domino's.
Pizza Hut.
Ooh, nobody out pizzas the Hut. Subway, KFC.
That's a tough one.
See, I kind of think similar in this one. I'm like, What's Subway?
The
I don't know.
health-conscious dad Darren wants to say Subway, but the real fat boy inside of me says KFC.
You can't deny the $5 fill-up boxes and bowls.
Yes, sir. Yes, sir.
Arby's or Jack in the Box?
See, this one's not fair. I've never been to a Jack in the Box. They don't have them on the East Coast, but I do love the Arby's. I love Arby's.
So that's why I tried to avoid for the sub question of going with Jersey Mike's, because I was like, does he have Jersey Mike's? Does he have Jersey Mike's? Does he have Firehouse subs? You know, that's why I was like,
the Firehouse.
It's so weird. So there you have it, folks. This or that. If you're looking to donate to Darren's fund and help feed his child and himself, those are the gift cards you need to provide right there. Pizza Hut, which, dude, I checked out Pizza Hut's menu the other day. God damn, that thing got expensive. Like, I remember Pizza Hut being like $10, $11, maybe $12, $13. It was like, now I was looking at like Uber Eats. I'd had a few cocktails. I'm like, dude, $22 for Pizza Hut pizza. This is how I die walking to Pizza Hut because I'm too cheap to do that, right?
That's why I go to Little Caesars now. They still have the low prices.
Dude, and they're not bad. They're the official pizza sponsor of the NFL. They can't be bad. The NFL's not bad.
There you go.
So, folks, you're here because you love food challenges. You love competitive eating. We all know food challenges aren't pretty. A lot of times they're gritty, and sometimes they taste shitty. Today's episode is all about our top 3 worst food challenges. Now, this could be for a variety of reasons, whether the food was trash, raw, we didn't like it, as Darren alluded to earlier, he ate shoe leather steak, or it could be just the old switch to Roozle Doozle where you thought you were getting a 4-pound challenge and instead you got a nice 8-pound ride home with a Goggy bag. So without further ado, Darren, what's your number 3? Number 1 being the worst. We're going to start from the bottom, and now we're here. Number 3, what's your worst challenge you've ever done?
Now, just before I start my list, I'm just not going to include Champ's Pizza because they're my true number 1 hated challenge experience. But we've already talked about that before. I want to keep things fresh, so I'm not going to include.
I think that one is just known in the eating community as that's just the number 1 worst challenge ever. Like Bob and Jeff tried it or whatever. Molly. That one's already known as the worst. We're just outside of like the worst day in the world. What was the number 3?
See, this pains me to say this because I've always loved the establishment and the owners are so kind. But every challenge I've done at this place, I've had to do twice because I failed the first time. Because it's a difficult challenge, and none of the challengers were good. They didn't taste good at all. It was just pure torture and suffering and agony and just. But the challenge I want to mention for my number 3 slot is all the challenges I've ever done at Denny's Beer Barrel Pub in Clearfield, Pennsylvania. I hate saying this. I'm so sorry, Denny. But there's 2 challenges I've done there. One was the 96er. It's always the frickin' 96ers, right? Because that steak was a 96er or whatever it was. Mm-hmm. It's always the one. If there's a number in the title of the challenge, you know it's going to suck. But the 96er is a 6-pound burger, but it's a 6-pound patty, right?
Oh,
and
shit.
It's 6 pounds after they cook it. They weigh it after they cook it. So it's like a legit 6 pound. Because sometimes, if they say a 6-pound patty, it's the pre-cooked weight. So, it depends
80-20, you're only getting like 4 pounds, right? Theoretically. Yeah, exactly. Right? Yeah, 100%. 6 pounds.
80-20 beef and it shrinks down to, 4 pounds or whatever. But this is a solid 6-pound brick. And I don't know what they use. They must use like 99% lean because there's no fat.
It's not moving.
And then, see, I made the mistake of choosing banana peppers the first time at the challenge. And, because I don't like raw onions, that's a me problem. I'll admit that.
No, I don't like raw onions either. I just think banana peppers is highly aggressive. Like,
yes, exactly. You're 100% right. I didn't think about it, because of the acidity, because of the, banana peppers are pickled and all this adds up. And then, the bottom bun soaks all of it up and the bun's disgusting. And it's just that every challenge I've done there, the food was just not good, And it sucks because, I got the chance to try one of the regular meals. And the regular meals are great, and the service is great too. but their challenges are just absolute garbage, just because it's a big 6-pound brick of meat, and it says because, there's no fat in it at all. It's super lean. It's like a brick. It's a literal brick of meat. And it's so hard to get to. It's, dry as a nun too. Like everything in it is dry as a nun, except for the banana peppers. Like, and so you end up having to take in a lot of fluids. And the first time I failed because I just flat out ran out of space because I had to take in too much fluid. And I would say the burger, we weighed it the second time, and it was 13 pounds, the whole thing total, believe it or not.
Holy shit.
But, I'm sure there's a little bit of variance between each attempt.
Yeah, but still a 6-pound burger and to hit 13 is impressive, man. Christ.
And it gets worse because I know there was, I want to say it weighed 25 pounds or something like that. There's a 25-pound burger. I forgot what it was called. It probably had a number, and they probably called it like the 128 or something like that. Who knows? But
25-pound Widowmaker.
There you go. And that was a team challenge, but you could only do it with two people. And Dan and I did it. First time we failed because I got sick. I threw up in the parking lot during the challenge. And then the second time, this I respect Dan for a lot. And it sounds gross. It was gross. It was disgusting, but I respect him for this. The second time we did it, he actually threw up, reversed a little bit on the plate, not the whole meal. And he was like, dude, we're not going to fail this the second time. I'm not going through this suffering again. And he started puke. And we beat it, but that burger was just as awful as the 96er. In fact, probably worse because the patty was even thicker and even bigger.
Jesus Christ.
And I know the second time we did it, I think I ate the entire patty and he ate everything else.
That's a tough one to figure out who had it worse because eating buns and all this stuff.
Yeah, and the bun soaks up everything, and there's like mayonnaise, ketchup, mustard, and they slop it on there. So,
but to eat a 6-pound brick is also no fun day either, right? Like,
well, I don't know how big the brick was for this one because that was for the 96er, so I'm assuming it had to have been like 10 pounds for sure.
That's 10 pounds would make sense because that would be like a traditional, like, so in food service, like normally ground beef is packed like 4 or 5 pounders, or it's like 10 pounds. So it makes sense to be 10 pounds because they would just take one whole tube of ground beef and just cook all that. Like they do at Cookie Canuck. That's what they do is just take a whole big, but at least Cookie Canuck, they season the shit out of it. It's a delicious burger because they just keep flipping it and don't roast it.
That makes it so impressive because every big patty I've done was not good.
It's because most of them throw it in the oven and turn into a giant meatloaf. That's in essence what they've done, which is why it eats, like you're saying, like a brick. You think about meatloaf, right? It's like that. Interesting. That sounds like a very not so fun time, but I get Dan's feelings of like, that's how I felt with the quesadilla. By the third time you do a challenge, your taste buds know, and they're like, nope, we don't want this. Get it done. Like, I get it. Like Natter doesn't ever want to do quesadilla again. He's like, I'm good, never tasting that again in my life.
Yeah, same thing with me. Thank goodness. That's the one thing I do not miss from competitive eating are the big patty burgers.
They're not good.
I want a good stack burger, but
100%. Give me a good stack burger, smash patties, go as high as you. Those big giant ones. It's just so tough to cook. It's like big pizza, right? Like, the crust is overcooked and the middle is raw. You just hopefully can roll it up and get a combination of it working.
Yes, sir.
So what is number 2? What comes in number 2 out of your 150, 200 food challenge wins you've ever done? How many are you?
I have no idea. I never kept track of it.
So many. It's got to be tough because you're like going back in like 7 years of your life. You're like, well, what's number 2?
Number 2 for me will be Faux Cheesies in Tampa, Florida. And this is one that I did fail, and George did beat. But yeah, because this was a pretty big challenge too, 10 plus pounds for sure. But it consisted of, I want to say, like 6 pounds worth of grilled cheese sandwiches, a half gallon of tomato soup, and they served it in this weird skull goblet. Actually, I'm not gonna lie, that was kind of cool. But and then of course 2 pounds of tater tots. But I just remember the way they cooked the grilled cheese. It was like the bread was super crispy and hard, so it was like literally creating all these micro cuts, inside of my mouth, like along the gums, like inside the cheeks. You know what I'm talking about? We've all experienced that at one point. If you do enough of these challenges, everything was just cut up super greasy, oily. The tomato soup was like too oily and greasy too. Tots are actually kind of good. I'm not gonna lie.
It's hard to mess them up though.
That was that. But then I remember they tried shafting Georgia out of his prize money after beat it. And then I remember we got in a huge heated argument over all of it. And then the sad part of it all was like the chef ended up, I don't know how true this was, but he was like, oh, you know what? Let me get some money from the back. I'll just pay my own personal money to pay out the, cash prize for this challenge. They're like, no, don't use your own money. Use the restaurant funds, Once again, I don't know if he really did use his own money, but eventually, we got paid the, I forgot like the $50 or whatever that they owed us. See, that was the whole thing, they were being cheap about it for $50. And for us, well, I can't speak for George, but for me, it was more the principle of it than the $50. I'm like, dude, you got to honor your, we honored our end of it. I feel like I paid the, $50 or whatever. And, George beat us. So you got to honor your end of the bargain too. Like none of this nonsense. No, screw this.
So I can walk in and tell you I'll come pay you in 3 months, maybe
And aside from that one cook, the whole staff is really trashy. You know what I mean? Like they're just really trashy, very defensive, kind of like, filming us and they're like, oh, don't throw up, and all this stuff, trying to like demeaning us as we're trying to do the challenge.
I fucking
I hate that crap, when people do that. Like I want to throw in a few jabs every once in a while. I don't mind that, for their social media or whatever. But the entire time they're just trashing us. And then I posted a video about it afterwards, and then the owner of the establishment had the audacity to message me to like, oh, can you please take down this video, re-edit it? Like, what do I have to do to make things right? And I was like,
you had your chance, $50.
Exactly.
That's crazy. I didn't know
that was my second challenge, just because the food was mediocre, and like on top of that, the staff was mediocre. Just everything about that place screamed mediocrity and what's wrong in America. So that's why they're number 2 on my list.
Dude, it's just I'm more stuck on because Vegas, we have a lot of influencers here. And that's where I always tell people, because I remember seeing that challenge and it looks tasty, right? Like it's a giant grilled cheese. Everything looks good. And you're like, it was terrible. Well, it wasn't the best, whatever. Like a big problem here is that you said, people are like, hey, can you take this down? So it's like, how do you get an authentic review anymore? And then people like one business the other day, they were like they got a negative review and they're like, well, you're just dumb because you don't know what you ordered and stuff. And I'm like, man, remember 10 years ago, you couldn't tell customers anything. Now these businesses are just like, fuck you, fuck him.
Exactly.
Dude,
I don't necessarily believe in the customer is always right.
Agreed.
But at the same time, do these restaurants not realize where do you think your revenues come from? Like, geez.
Well, that's the problem.
Some of these people are so loyal to these restaurants. Like when I did that whole Champs thing, I don't know if I had mentioned it when we talked about it, but I remember all of his fans and customers started leaving me all these nasty messages and all these crazy posts on my wall and talking about how I was a clown. And I don't know why, but they kept calling me a clown. Probably a bunch of kids, but
I didn't know that. Wow,
it is crazy how some of these it's almost like a cult, man. It's it's like instead of the Church of Scientology, it's like the Church of Champs Pizza.
Cell Block C, Champs Pizza. We're here, baby.
Exactly.
He's gonna find.
Yeah, that's easily my number 2 is Faux Cheesies.
Dude, that's. If you say you're gonna do something, it's real simple, right? Do what you say, what you're gonna do, and do what you're gonna say. That's the thing. $50, I get it. Why not? Hey, we're gonna mail you a check, and then you just never do. Because how many T-shirts are you owed? 127.
Exactly.
We're gonna take down your address. We'll mail you. Where was I? Oh, I was in Big Bear, and they're like, "Oh, we don't have any T-shirts. We'll give you this sweatshirt and we'll mail you a T-shirt." I'm like, you don't need to mail me the T-shirt. The sweatshirt's just fine. I don't need the T-shirt. We're good.
See, that's the one thing that I did respect about P-dubs that we were talking about earlier. Like, they're just straight up with me. Oh, we don't have any shirts, but we can give you something else. What do you want, bud?
Yeah, that's legit, right? Like, bring
Yeah,
someone.
I respect that.
100%. So we got Denny's Beer Barrel, giant brick hamburgers. We built the foundation.
Sorry, Denny. I love you, man, but
We go into that for number 2. Focheezy's just getting shady.
Yeah, I don't feel bad about the Focheezy's at all.
Yeah. Well, I mean, I felt bad for Chigger because I was like, dude just had to sit there and be like, I just want my money. Like, I'll just give me my $50, I'll leave. Right.
He did get the $50, but yeah, we had to sit there and argue for a good 15 minutes.
At least no cops were called.
Yes, number 1. We learned better.
We're getting better. We're getting better. Number 1, what is the worst food challenge you've ever done?
Now, this one I know I talk about way too much, but because it was my worst food challenge ever and I beat it, I was so proud of the win. And I think I want to say the big fat fatty. And that one took me 2 tries too.
Hey, I tell people all the time, competitive eating can be like sports. I related to that. That is like your Final Four banner. That's your national championship. I have some too. Like there's ones like that 10-pound quesadilla that's like, where's your banner? Dude, big fat fatty separates pretenders from contenders. Like very few people, even current day competitive eating scene, can take down the big fat fatty.
And that's the thing, because I don't know if they purposely designed it that way. I think they do. Because the challenge itself, I've never heard anyone tell me, at least, anyone that I've talked to that's done the challenge, tell me like, boy, that was a delicious challenge. Because it's not. Because, they just take everything on the menu and put it on a gigantic 24-inch sub, or as they call it, a 24-inch hero. But
see, I think for me, even to beat that now, I would probably have to end up dunking the bread in some sort of water.
Yeah, you would have. That's what I ended up doing. Except, like, the boneless fish side ended up just like dumping like Coke or water or whatever all over the
bun. I mean, I don't think I could get that down like Molly and Jeff did, where they were just like eating it and like excelling. I think I would need like every dark art trick of like 100%. Not even like, it's like when I first started, I would go water, then lemonade, then Diet Coke. And then like eventually I was just like water to Diet Coke, like reading Rainbow, the more you know, right? This one would have to be like, I would need like water to a Kool-Aid to a thing. And I don't know if I could still get it. I mean, Webby crushed it. They do have a new challenge. Have you seen their new challenge?
Oh, did he do the big fat fatty?
Who, Webby? Yeah, he did the big fat fatty.
Oh, shoot. I wonder what his time was. I'm kind of curious.
Well, let's look it up while we're here. They did bring out another challenge, though, that is like a mega ice cream sundae. It's like so many scoops of ice cream.
Wasn't it like 60 scoops or something ridiculous?
It's like 60 scoops of ice cream, a slice of cheesecake, a slice of chocolate cake, and all this candy and shit. And it's like live
slice of cheesecake is like that one challenge that they have at the Hard Rock in Florida, where it's like that humongous slice of cheesecake. They probably stick one of those in the Sunday.
That is one of my favorite Beard videos because he got screwed with fries. And he like tells them like, oh, I got screwed, blah, blah, blah. But it's the most use of the word colander I've ever heard in my whole entire. He just keeps going, it's a colander of fries, mate. It's a colander of fries. Trying to look up Webby's time. I think he finishes right around 34, 33.
Ooh, that was relatively close to what I had. I think I had 37 or something.
And you only get 45 minutes, right?
40 minutes, yeah.
Oh, 40 minutes? Oh, shit. I don't know if I could really do that at all. Yeah, he finished in like 34 minutes.
Okay, because I thought he would do it around Jeff's time, because Jeff was at Animal and did it in 24. Well,
holy shit, 24 minutes?
She did it in 14 minutes. Molly did.
That's a beast. That's a goat. That's a great of all time right there. No one's touching that.
Because that is one thing I will say, that I have these personal memories that I consider like the most impressive eating food that I've seen in person. That's one of them, was watching Molly eat the big fat patty next to me. It was like disgusting but beautiful at the same time. I was like, this is unbelievable. She was literally inhaling that sandwich. I think she's a master of that challenge, but I think she's beaten it at all these different locations across the
So you
LA
get that kind
area.
of I mean, no, 14 minutes is absolutely crazy because that thing, like,
She was literally like a pound a minute, like no joke.
There was a challenge I saw today in Vegas, and it's supposed to be 8 pounds. And I saw it. I'm like, this doesn't look like 8 pounds. It doesn't look like 8 pounds. The big fat fatty looks every bit of its measured weight. Like the quesadilla, you go, oh, the quesadilla is 10 pounds, and you see this quesadilla, you're like, that looks every bit. The big fat fatty like is as of advertised. It does not look small.
Well, the thing is, they don't advertise the weight at all. They just say, I mean, they advertise what's on it, and they're just true to it. But
see,
they're not joking when they say an entire basket of fries. That thing is loaded with fries on top. And see, that challenge is just so. I just remember like doing that challenge, and every time, like, it was like one of those like Russian dolls. You know what I'm talking about? Where you open it, and there's another one in there.
Another one,
like, torture version of that, because like I uncover a layer of fries. I'm like, okay, now there's a lot of cheesesteak. Get through that. Okay, now there's 6 burger patties. Okay, now there's pastrami. It's just like never ends.
And those challenges, like for me, I'm not going to include you. For me, those challenges like pastas, fries, cereals, and rice base mess with me the most mentally because like you eat a burger and you can slowly start to see it. God, me and this camera, I swear to God. By episode 9, I will get this right. The burgers go down, you can see it. But like to me, rice, ice cream, you keep eating and you don't see it going down. Like you were saying, you peel off a layer, there's another layer. And it just sits there. And at some point, you're like, God, am I even making a dent? And that's where it gets like kind of mentally hard. But no, that challenge is like, I appreciate they don't advertise a weight. I did a video where it was like top 5 food challenge scams for me that I see. And like, I appreciate when they don't say a weight because then at least they've left open that door. Like we've not committed, Darren, to a weight. Some might be bigger. But when they're like, hey, it's 4 pounds, then that thing better be within 4 pounds. Now, exactly. I get it. Like when we see 80-20 ground beef at the grocery store, obviously the USDA, the FDA, whatever it is, they know that you can't perfectly for 100% of the time get 80-20. So you're allowed to have a little bit. Hey, you say 4 pounds and it's like 4.5. I mean, I don't know what a good number would be, but like we'll just say within a half pound, sure. But we've all known we've gone places and it's like, oh, it's 4 pounds. And you're like, this isn't 4 pounds. This is 7.5.
Like 7.
Or
sometimes the opposite does happen.
I was just gonna say some of the creators nowadays, these social media eaters, it's like, this is a 9-pound challenge. I'm like, this is not a 9-pound challenge. You're lucky to be at 3-4 challenge. Like, where is this other 7 pounds coming from?
Unless it's like a soup, then maybe.
Yeah, I mean, that's always the thing, right? Ramen. I always love ramen and pho challenge. I ate 16 pounds. No, you didn't. You drank 200 ounces of broth and a couple pounds of meat. Still counts. Still counts.
It does count. I mean, that's what I did with my 21 pounds of applesauce.
Yeah, still counts. You ate 21 pounds, man. Don't ever take away from your accomplishments. So we'll start off with my number 3 worst food challenge. It was Brandy's and I's 6th date, maybe 7th date. On date 3, I did a pizza challenge. So this is like the second food challenge we ever did. We did a day trip to Wyoming, and it was like Wyoming winter, like 38 degrees, 40 degrees.
She was already committed then. If this is your 6th date and she's willing to go all the way out to Wyoming for a food challenge with you.
That's what I knew. It was like, all right, this is going somewhere. She's believing in this terrible habit and hobby of mine, right? Like, at what year does it become profitable? That's the joke. It doesn't, right? Like, if this is what we call a goodwill foundation and not for profit endeavor, but so we drive up there, and I had seen it, and this is how long ago this was. It just stuck with me, like you were saying. Different memories stick with you. Do you remember Ivan the avocado?
Yeah, I do. I actually competed against him once.
Interesting. So he was traveling around doing that. Remember, like after his graduation, he was doing like a food challenge in every state. So this was the Wyoming one, and I lived in Colorado, and he got like 30 minutes to do this challenge or something. And then this guy named Matt Eats a Lot, not Hazard, not Hungry Hazard, but Matt Eats a Lot. He went in there and did it. Stephanie Wu went in there and did it. But I noticed like each time that it would be beaten, the time would get shaved down. So the last time limit I had seen was 15 minutes, and the challenge was 16-ounce milkshakes. It was 100 ounces of milkshakes, but you got like 5 16-ounce milkshakes with one 20-ounce tumbler of just them all mixed. So you kind of had to figure out what would mix well, and they were like a drive-in, old school kind of walk-up counter restaurant. So like they had tons of flavors. So I get there and I'm like, yeah, I'm here to do the challenge, blah, blah, blah. He's like, okay, you're going to go do it in the patio. Dude, the patio had no insulation and no heating. I'm literally eating a milkshake challenge outside, wearing my this is like, you know me. I can't keep sleeves on these things to save my life. So I'm like sleeveless, just dying. And the guy is wearing like a full-blown snowsuit. And he's like, yeah, I did this challenge the other day. I beat it in 11 minutes. And I'm like, bullshit. Like that one meme, right? Bullshit. Bullshit. You didn't beat
like
this
a pizza challenge and people saying they could do the big fat pizza.
100%. And I'm like, you did not eat this in 11. You did not drink these milkshakes. And he goes, oh, yeah, I'm really good at drinking. I do challenges all the time. And they did have 2 challenges. So I'm like, I don't think he touched this one. I get it done in 7 minutes and 11 seconds. And like the whole time he was just like staring. I was like, oh yeah, you're pretty close, but you got to like scoop this up. I'm like, bro, I am licking these things clean. You just don't want me to win. Eventually we win. And he stands up and I notice his pants are unzipped. And I'm like, how excited is he for this? Like, oh my God. Because when we first got there, I went to the bathroom. Like any competitive eater, it's like an unwritten rule. You show up to a restaurant, within the first 10 minutes, you have to go to the bathroom. And so I go pee. It's not even connected. It's like outdoors. There's no plumbing. You're just like using a hole with like a toilet. And I'm like, where the fuck did I take this poor girl? Like Brandy's going to leave me here. She drove. I'm going to have to walk home to Denver. Like I'm screwed. So no, it was just like, I did not know at that time if I could do 10-minute time limit, eating in the cold, milkshakes, and then them changing the time and all this stuff. It was just the worst. I'm like, what the fuck, man? Like, and then the funny part is like Raina went there 3 weeks later and she did their burger challenge. And it was completely the bait and switch. Part of the challenge was you had to eat a ghost pepper, like a raw ghost pepper, the boot jalokia, and a Trinidad scorpion. That was like you had to eat with all the burgers and all the fixings. And I'm like, who could beat that? Those peppers right there are a challenge in themselves.
Yeah, exactly. Because they're like peppers.
It was just so weird to me that the guy was like, his pants were like basically unbuttoned and down the whole time. I was like, what stirred these milkshakes and where did we get this cream from?
Like that South Park episode, Cream Frage.
Creme fraiche. No, so that was number 3 for me. It's a little weak, but it's like, it was either that or the time I got raw barbecue. But like the raw barbecue, I'm like, it was rough. It was raw chicken too. And I had to eat it because it was a cash prize of $300. And kind of like you said, the staff was like making fun of me and I was just like, fuck you guys. I'm eating this raw chicken. I'm taking your $300. We got back to Blaine's roommate's house and I literally passed out on the bathroom floor. Like was just out. Like that's how bad.
Why could you end up getting like some kind of lockjaw or something from like the raw meat?
But I'm just so tough. I'm such a genetic freak of like abnormality. Salmonella can't do shit to me.
You just gotta sleep it off.
Right, babe? Just sleep it off. So number 2 is an interesting one. And it involves Toro Loco, who's a Vegas legend. And he's like, dude, I want to go see you take on this challenge. And I'm like, all right. Rain had come here and done it. It was like, it's like 20 tacos or something, or like 13 tacos. I'm trying to remember the exact number. I do apologize. It was like a tray of birria tacos. You had 20 minutes to do it or 15 minutes to do it. and you didn't have to finish the broth. And so I get there and I'm like, yeah, I want to do the challenge. He goes, oh, okay, well, it's 10 minutes. It's this tacos, and then you got to use the broth. And I go, that's not the challenge I saw on social media. Like, this girl said it was this, and I play dumb, right? That's how I'm like, oh, the challenge I saw was this. And he goes, this has always been the challenge. That was the challenge that she said she would do. She wouldn't do our challenge. She would only do this challenge. Totally just throws her underneath the bus. And I'm like, wow, there is no loyalty or love. Like, he's not about this at all. Like, he's like, oh, she changed it. Otherwise, she wasn't going to do it. So I was like, fine, I'll play the same fucking card. So Toro goes up there. He's like, he's not going to eat these tacos unless he gets these rules. And the guy's like, and I knew it was going to be tough because it's like, dude, it was like 15 tacos in like, whatever, 20 tacos in 15 minutes or some shit. And I had to finish 2 cups of broth. And the tacos were the driest tacos I've ever seen. Like, these were drier than a mummy's dick. Not that I would know, but like I could base off empirical evidence that it's pretty dry, right? It didn't matter if I like dunked these things in there. Like, I asked him before I started, like, do I get the chipmunk? He's like, yeah, whatever a chipmunk is, you can do it, which came back to benefit me in the end. But like, this was the worst tacos I've ever had in my life. And I love birria, but they were so dry.
Like, disappointment. When dude, it's your favorite food, like the shoe leather steak, tacos, they're supposed to be good things,
100%. And I've told you this before. The number one thing that pisses me off is like eating like all this calories and it's not even tasty, right? Like, we got to go eat 10,000 calories of something. At least make it be tasty. Like, Hostess donuts are tasty.
I'll be honest, but
what's up?
I never worried about that.
That's because you're a freak. You don't count calories. See, you just go. I make my calories count. I'm like Brett Healy over here. No, it was just like the worst experience because they were like, you have 10 minutes to do all this and this. I'm like, that's not the challenge that we can't help what she posted. And kind of like what you said, like, they contacted you to take down that video. I'm like, bro, no one can eat 20 tacos in 10 minutes, double tortilla, and finish like a pint of, 16 ounces, a pint of broth. Like, dude, that's a tough ass challenge.
Why did they throw the broth in there, just to make it more difficult, or is it like a tradition? Like, what, do you dip the birria in there, kind of like a French dip?
You dip birria. It's called consomme, and it's like their broth, and that's like how you're supposed to enjoy it. Dude, I was just using it as my water mechanism because it was warm, and I was trying because these tacos, they dip the tortillas in the consomme and then fry them on the grill. And she only got 1 tortilla and I had to do 2. And I didn't think it would make that much of a difference. But you think about a tortilla, like, it gets crunchy. And to do like doubled shell, like hard shell tacos makes it innately tougher. Dude, I struggled. I got it on the chipmunk, but it was one where like I was fighting it and booking it. And like, I will like probably never go back to that place, even though I live in the town, because it just like rubbed me raw that I was like, dude, what, like, this is not good. And everyone here like seems to like the place. So it kind of like fell in that, like you said, like, they make the challenge food worse than the actual food. Like, thank you so much.
Yeah, that's always a disappointment. Either that or they have a super loyal cult like following, like Champ's Pizza.
Dude, some people do. Some places do. Like, have you ever gone to a place like Champ's though, and they have that following and you eat the food and it totally like misses you, like where you're like, I don't see the hype? Because that happens to me all the time. People are like, this is the best pizza ever. I eat it. I'm like, this is like Domino's tier, mid tier at best. Like, I don't get
voice that out loud. Some Karen will come out to you.
But I mean, meanwhile, there's places where it's like, oh, this is amazing. Like when Bertoletti was here for bagels, him and I and Brandy and the Toro Loco went out for pizza. It was some of the best pizza I've ever had in my life, and they bill it that way. So I was shocked that it actually lined up. I was like, oh, wow, this is like, the dudes won awards, and it was phenomenal pizza. But the worst challenge that I've ever done, I've failed it twice, and I doubt I would go back for a third time. Like, I kind of thought like maybe Webby would say, let's get Esper and him, Esper, and I could go take on this challenge. But this place has like a history of if they think you can eat, they're going to like fuck with your meat. And I like to rhyme, so there you go. Webby did their one challenge and the lettuce was steaming. And I'm like, Webby, lettuce can't steam. He goes, mate, it was steaming. And I'm like, I'm telling you, man. So we think it was microwaved, but his challenge, like it's supposed to be a 5-pound challenge. The amount of meat he got was 5 pounds. So I did it like Bob Corbucci's wife, I forget her name, I apologize. And then Brandon Clark all did this challenge, and they beat it in like 4 minutes and 30 seconds for a 5-minute time limit. So with 3 of the best eaters in the world taking 4.5, it's a tough challenge. It's 50 tacos. At that time, there was only 4 different types of meat, but now they've upped it to like they added cabeza to it, which is like head and shit. And I'm I'm good. I'm good, bro.
I do like cabeza. I like making a cabeza taco.
Then we're gonna bring you in the next time and let you just sit on that. So we did it. We did it the first time with an freak eating, myself, and then Toro Loco and an old MLE pro, like before your time. His name was Tom Gilbert.
Yeah, I do remember Tom Gilbert. Yeah.
Okay.
So I mean, person, but
I mean that's a sizable foursome there, right? Like everyone can pretty much eat. Everyone choked during that challenge except for me. Everyone had, because it's like the meat was so dry. And even though they make the tortillas in-house, they like don't like melt in your mouth type of stuff, right? Like you've had tortillas where it's like
corn tortilla. That's
and they're just super dry because it's almost like they don't cook them long enough, right? To give them that kind of texture. So it was like, dude, and it was all onion and cilantro. And it was gross. So like we failed, and it's $150 if you fail.
$150, jeez.
$3 a taco, man. And so Webby comes to town about a year later, and he goes, "Hey, mate, you want to do this challenge?" And I'm like, "Yeah, man. Like, I'd love to collab with you and stuff, right? Like, let's go get some vids. Let's hang out." So he calls him to set it up, and they go, "Yeah, you want to do it solo?" And he goes, "No, I really don't. I want to do it with a teammate." And they go, "Is Heavy D going to be your teammate?" And he's like, "I should have known then we were fucked." Like they're naming who my teammate is. Like they know, right? So we show up, we're taking pictures. Dude, this tacos come out. It was like 7 raw onions and like 2 pounds of cilantro. It was like Brandy's like, I wish we would have counted the tacos because it seemed like there was more, right? Like it was crazy. So Webby and I fail. I started choking. Like I got my karma. I choked on this time. And him and I were like trying to slam it. If you do it as a team of 2, you get 10 minutes. And if you solo it, you get 15 minutes. And they'll pay you $100 if you beat it.
15 minutes for, you said 50 tacos, right? Like, are they street taco size or?
They're street taco size, but I mean, I would wager there's 3 to 5 ounces of meat per taco. What's up?
I'm sorry. Like my screen went off for a second. It went off on
you're good. No, you're good. No, so these tacos are like 3 to 5 ounces of meat. Like if you look up the photos, they're huge tacos and they were overfilling. And then like, I was like, whatever, I get it. I'm not going to do this challenge. But then and this is why it goes to number 1 on my list. 3 months ago and about 2 months ago, maybe even sooner, they brought in a couple influencers who were like advertising the challenge. The challenge they are showing is not even close to the challenge that we got. If we got the challenge that they're showing, Webby and I would have been done in 7 minutes, 6 minutes. Yeah. Because it was like you were saying, street tacos where like, yeah, you and I could just sit there and one bite them. Like each taco is 2 to 3 bites, which that's like a sizable bite, right? Like that kind of stuff. So it's just, that's why it's the worst to me, because it's that bait and switch, and it's the influencer special of like, hey, you have a huge following, so you're going to get a different challenge. Oh, you have a legit shot of doing this. we're going to stack the deck in our favor. And it's like, hey, I get it. Protect your investment, right? But make it fair for all of us. Like, make it look good as well. Because it's like, yeah, I may not be an influencer that you're wanting that's a foodie influencer. I still am taking photos, and like, believe it or not, that video, like that one got on Instagram a couple 100,000 views. So everyone was like, what's wrong with these tacos? There's too much lettuce or too much cilantro and onion. These tacos look like
steaming.
No, I mean, Webby, one thing I love about Webby, I mean, I like him a lot. He's a cool dude, and I know you've only met him like 1 or 2 times, is like he has no fucking shame about taking off the gloves and calling it what it is, which I love, right? Because sometimes the rest of us try to dance around, not in a bad way, but we don't want to like piss them off and get, he's like, literally, this lettuce is steaming. Like, and he calls it out in the video. Like, he did a video in where Natter lives, and they're like proud. They literally like have it on the wall that they defeated Reina. Like, they all know they beat Reina in a challenge. It's like a 2-pound burger, and then they use that ambiguous term, a basket of fries. Dude, it was a whole like lunch tray of fries with a 2-pound burger. And Webby's like, you have 20 minutes to do it. And Webby fails it. And he's like, they wanted me to fail. They were fucking laughing. And that's what he says on the voiceover. He's like, they're laughing at me. They don't want me to beat this. And I'm like, I wonder if they called him like that Faux Cheesy place did.
Probably so. It's always those type of establishments where they'll try to sneak into your DMs and try to ask for forgiveness. They'll ask for
that's one thing that made me laugh. This is what I'll leave you all with, since we're approaching time here. That Fat Boy's Pizza got 30 million views. Not once did they reach out. Not once did they ever comment back when I tagged them and people said, where is this place? And I was like, Fat Boy's Pizza, Fat Boy. Like, helping them, right? Trying to get, they could give a fuck less. They could give a fuck less.
Either that or they need to fire their social media manager.
I'm like, I looked at their following. I'm like, man, I think all of us would love, like, I was laughing. So I was telling Brandy, I'm like, could you imagine if I made $1 off every view this got? Like, we'd be like just rich as fuck, right? Like, you and I would be doing this full time now. We'd be playing golf off of our newly minted restaurant, Champ's Pizza.
Yeah, 30 million, though. Congratulations. That's insane.
On a stupid pizza video, but well, everyone, that was your favorite Hometown Heroes worst 3 challenges. Now, we all know you watch other people. What would you say that you've seen are the worst challenges around the food eating scene? It could be for a variety of reasons. Let us know down below what you think is the worst challenge you've ever seen, because there's been some doozies that I know I've seen on other channels. I know you've seen and been a part of. So we appreciate you all. Make sure to hit that subscribe button. Don't miss it. We're going to have Darian Thomas on giving us everything about pistachios here in a few weeks. I am going to be heading to the World Bologna Eating Championships. We'll be live talking about bologna, as well as the race to Coney is heating up. You're not going to want to miss it. Make ssure to like, share, and subscribe. The Hindenburg Burger. Let's do it.